Hi guys, and welcome back to OG Cars. In today's video we've shockingly bought another car. Now there's a good story to this one, and it's something a little bit different. Maybe not for the better for the channel because it's something slightly newer, but let's have a little look at it and why I've bought it. This is my new to me 2010 Citroen C1. Excuse the fact that we've just changed location. We were in the park just there and loads of people were going by, so fair enough. We've moved somewhere slightly out of the way, hopefully. We've still not got proper mics, so we'll do that at some point so we can actually film in some other areas, because our usual area, unfortunately, we can't use anymore. So basically, here's the car, 2010 Citroen C1. It's a VTR. It's got aircon, yes. Does it work? Kind of. But it still has wheel trims. It doesn't have alloys. It doesn't have like painted door handles or anything like that, so it's almost like base-ish spec, but it's got aircon, and otherwise it's just a 1 litre Citroen C1, which is basically the whole platform of what the Peugeot 107 and the Toyota Aygo was based on. It's just a cheap car. All of the specs are fairly similar. You're only going to get like alloys, aircon, maybe some different seats or different colours. There's not many other things. The idea was it's cheap, it's basic, but it works. And to be fair, it does work quite well. It's on 96,000 miles now. It's done really well. Now, we know this car because G's sister had it for quite a while. So here comes the story. This is Colin, the Citroen C1, as he is affectionately named by Mary, which is G's sister. And I don't know quite how long she had it for. I want to say maybe 2 years at a guess. But basically, it was bought as just a runaround when they got their house, and she's used it and abused it. Now, I'm not going to say she hasn't looked after it, but she's been doing, you know, routine servicing, getting tyres done. She's had the front brakes done recently. I did a brake pipe on it when that went a year or so ago as well. But ultimately, one of the windows opened because the hinges broke on it, and it was taped up, and it was taped up for ages. The hinges were eventually replaced, but there was tape residue all over it. It was covered in bird poo. It hadn't been cleaned properly in such a long time. There was dirt, mud everywhere. So earlier today I took it upon myself to go and clean it, and I've got a few before and after pictures here. You can see just how much tape residue and how much dirt there was that had just built up on it. It was all like mossy and green in some of the areas, especially behind sort of like the door edges and stuff. So we've tried to clean everything out and try and clean and hoover the interior, and to be fair, it's looking so much better. And with a Mai Tai little tree in there, it's certainly smelling a lot better as well, so that's ideal. I even did some back to black on it, so it looks pucker now. But yeah, basically Mary had this car for a while, and she's decided to upgrade. She's decided to get a fancier car. She's got herself a Volkswagen Taigo, which is only a few years old, and basically when she went to Volkswagen, she test drove it, she loved it. She was going to just trade this in, and G and I were there because we had a look around the Taigo, and you know, just to have a look at it, and it was a nice car. It had all the things she wanted, so she's, you know, signed on the dotted line, and she was about to part X her car, and we didn't realise that before this she'd already been to see the dealer and agreed a part exchange price, and that part exchange price was £200. And now if you look at this, a 2010 Citroen C1, admittedly it was in its dirty tape residue state, but even then it's not a £200 car. And I know dealers aren't going to pay you a lot of money for a part X, but ultimately when £200 is, you know, probably less than the scrap value of a car of this age and this spec and everything, especially in this condition, we just thought it was a little low. So basically I offered her a little bit more just off the bat, and it was only after I said I'll pay you a little bit more where I thought, oh dear, that means I'll end up with another car. Now at this point the Seat Terra had just broken. There will be a video on that at some point later, but basically I had water pump, and yeah, I had water pump issues. I had to do the water pump, and time about was done now. But ultimately I needed a car for work. I was borrowing G's. I just needed to get on the road. This was cheap. I got a refund on my insurance of £50 for the rest of my term, and tax was £20 for the year. I really couldn't say no, and it even came with almost a full tank of fuel. So it has done me really well so far. It's actually saved me a lot of money. The Seat Terra, I've done some bits to it. I am going to be selling the Seat Terra because our camper conversion plans have sort of died a death. Now there will be a video on the Terra, on hopefully one on it braking and one on the Terra generally, because we haven't really done one of those yet, so we will do those videos. So if you're wondering where they are, don't worry, they are coming. But just to let you know, it will be going up for sale. So if you're interested, put your interest in now anyway, because I haven't listed it just yet, because I'm waiting on a couple of brand new tyres for it for the new owner to enjoy, because the front two keep going flat, which isn't ideal. So anyway, I buy this, it's cheap, it's on the road. I've been using this for a few weeks now and it's done me absolutely fine. So yeah, I'm really happy, but Colin has done me proud. I apologise, I've been chatting for too long already. Let's do a quick tour of Colin, the Citroen C1 VTR. Now, the boot, very small. You could probably fit a loaf of bread in the back of here, maybe a slice of cheese as well. It's not massive. It's bigger at the bottom than it is at the top, which is really annoying when you're trying to like get something in of a certain size and you have to like jiggle it, angle it, and this parcel shelf gets in the way and also it's a bit flimsy. But ultimately, it's a cheap car and it is a small car, which brings us on to a pro though of the car. Because it's so small, it will fit anywhere. So that's ideal. Okay, so practicality. Can I fit in the back seat when I'm sat in the front of it? Oh dear. I want to say the answer is not really, but actually it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. I mean, that's where I would sit. My knees have to be out to the sides, so you certainly won't want anyone in the middle, but I think it's a four-seater anyway, going by the seat belts, so you can't have a fifth person anyway. Okay, so in the cockpit now, and things aren't so bad. The A-pillar, I must say, is quite big. I think that's normal for modern-ish cars anyway. Obviously, I'm not used to that because my A-pillars are all like that big, that big. This is a lot bigger, and the way the car's shaped, you kind of want to see there when you're using roundabouts and stuff. But I mean, you know, small things. Ultimately, inside isn't a bad place to be. It's a bit basic in here, but again, this is a basic cheap car. This is how it is. It's got everything you need. This one's got aircon, it's got a rear demist there, it's got all of your heated controls, and it's got a fairly basic radio just above, but it works. And I have a radio. The Seat Terra didn't have a radio, the 205 didn't have a radio, the MG Metro didn't have a radio, you know, stuff like that. I'm enjoying actually just being able to listen to something. The seats aren't terrible, they're not too uncomfortable, they're not that huggy, but they're okay. It's a little bit cheap, but as I say, it's a cheap car. It's not a bad place to be. Yeah, it works. This is Colin's battle scar. Unfortunately, this did happen outside of our house. Rip Colin. And here is an engine, which is the same size as the battery. Okay, so I'm aware we're actually losing the light, so I'm going to try and wrap it up and talk about the future for Colin. So I do want to get some wheel trims on it. I do want to do another service on it because I think it's due again. But yeah, basically I've already tidied him up. I've just like to finish off those last bits to make sure he is completely fine, because admittedly Colin may go, I don't know. The plan was, you know, cheap insurance, cheap tax, cheap to run, cheap on fuel. So great, good daily run around. Don't really mind where it gets parked and what battle scars it has, whatever, you know, that is what it is. But ultimately, G has been offered a trade on the Saxo, which I may or may not take. If she does, I would quite fancy it and therefore may sell Mr. Colin. And if I do, then he will have to go to a nice home and I'll have to give Mary a little bit more money. But that's by the by. We'll see what happens. Colin may stay as a current daily. If not, then you'll see another daily suddenly appear and Colin will go. I know there's a lot of chopping and changing, but that's the way of OG cars. Thanks very much for watching, guys. Like, comment and subscribe. We'll see you all in the next one.